In the heart of Southeast Asia is a nation that defies conventional norms in the oil and gas industry. Despite lacking domestic oil reserves, Singapore has risen as a global powerhouse in oil trading and refining, contributing significantly to its economy. Singapore's oil industry is essential for the country, impacting not only the world market but also playing a crucial role in its economic growth. This transformation has propelled Singapore from poverty to becoming a wealthy, first-world nation. Meanwhile, across the waters in Malaysia, the oil and gas industry has been a cornerstone of the nation's economic success. With its roots traced back to 1910 and the drilling of the first oil well in Miri, Sarawak, Malaysia's journey in the sector has been marked by growth and strategic collaborations with major players such as Shell and Exxon. Post-independence, the Petroleum Mining Act of 1966 shaped the industry landscape, introducing a concession system that allowed multinational corporations to explore and produce resources, contributing significantly to the government's finances. This partnership not only fueled the development of Malaysia's oil and gas sector but also emerged as a key driver of the country's economic prosperity. The revenue generated through royalties, taxes, and payments played a crucial role in funding national development initiatives and diversifying Malaysia's economic landscape. In the 1970s, Malaysia taking control of its oil resources changed the country's path. It shifted from relying on tin and rubber to getting close to becoming a high-income nation within the next 2 to 6 years. In 1960, the first year of Singaporean self-rule, the GDP per capita was a modest $1,360 SGD or $428, largely influenced by a local British military station. A decade later, in 1970, this figure doubled to nearly $2,800 SGD per capita or $925. Just 4 years after that, it doubled once again to $5,655 SGD or $2,341. This significant economic growth was driven by the lucrative oil products refined by major players like Shell, BP, and Mobil. This is intriguing because Singapore, being a small island with no domestic petroleum resources and a limited local market, has managed to become a significant player in the global petroleum industry. Now, turning our attention to Malaysia, the year 1960 marked the start of its journey with a modest GDP per capita of $245. By 1970, there was a gradual increase to $375. The real excitement came just 4 years later in 1974 when the figure skyrocketed to an impressive $838. What fueled this remarkable leap? The founding of Petronas. Around the same time, Petronas was established in 1974, one step behind Singapore's remarkable economic growth fueled by the oil industry. The Malaysian government's decision to create Petronas was influenced by concerns that foreign oil companies were not adequately sharing information about oil exploration activities, leading to potential revenue loss for the government. This development coincided with the formulation of the Malaysian New Economic Policy in the early 1970s, which aimed to empower Malaysians, particularly the Bumiputera, Malaysian natives, by encouraging their involvement in various modern industries and creating more economic opportunities. In Singapore's rich history, the journey to become a petroleum hub began long before independence. In the 1800s, Syme and Company established a small oil refinery on Pulau Bukom, an island strategically positioned near Keppel Harbour. This enterprise later merged into Royal Dutch Shell, now ranked as the world's 5th largest company. Despite early sales and fuel distribution centers, the dream of a full refinery faced decades of challenges, from the island's constraints to political and ideological hurdles. The turning point came when the Singaporean government, led by Minister for Finance Goh Keng Swee, orchestrated a groundbreaking joint venture with Japan's Cosmo Oil Company. This daring move, in 1960, not only stunned the global oil majors but set the stage for a transformative handshake deal with Royal Dutch Shell to construct their first refinery, marking a pivotal moment in Singapore's economic journey with a SGD $30 million agreement, then the largest in the nation's history. The stage was set for Singapore's ascent as a petroleum powerhouse. Shell's inaugural refinery was constructed at an unprecedented pace, being completed just 1 year after groundbreaking. This deal turned out to be a home run for Shell, with the refinery becoming its largest and potentially most profitable. Interestingly, the Singapore project diverted Shell's attention from a previously announced refinery in the Port Dickson area of Malaysia, which only became operational in 1963, 2 years after Singapore's. This gave the small island a lasting head start in the regional oil refining landscape. The success of Shell's venture sparked a refinery boom in Singapore from the late 1960s to the early 1980s, with BP in 1962, Mobil in 1966, Shell again in 1967, and a major achievement, Esso, in 1969. Esso would later transform into the American oil giant ExxonMobil. This period of growth was propelled by global conflicts, particularly wars in Indochina and the Middle East, resulting in shortages and price shocks. Singapore reaped significant profits by selling fuel to the participants, including providing much of the fuel used in the Vietnam War. By 1974, Singapore boasted 5 refineries with a total capacity of 1.2 million barrels a day. Oil products accounted for nearly 40% of the country's total exports, solidifying the area as East Asia's primary refining center. Transitioning to Malaysia, the emergence of Petronas in 1978 marked a pivotal moment in the nation's oil exploration and production landscape. Petronas Karagali, SDN-BHD, and the expansion of downstream businesses with the ASEAN Bintula fertilizer plant in 1980 demonstrated Malaysia's commitment to the oil and gas sector. Oil exploration continued, with discoveries like the Selagi field in 1988, further underlining Malaysia's potential. The adoption of advanced technologies, including computerized seismography, allowed for the re-exploration of fields once deemed unproductive. In 1990, Petronas invited foreign companies to explore new frontiers off Sabah and Sarawak, showcasing Malaysia's dedication to harnessing its oil and gas resources. To extend oil reserves and diversify sources, Petronas pursued opportunities beyond Malaysia. In 1989, invitations from Vietnam and Myanmar led to Petronas Karagali's involvement in joint ventures for oil exploration in their coastal waters. This marked a significant expansion, prompting the creation of Petronas Karagali Overseas SDN-BHD in 1990. The new unit secured a 15% interest in a Myanmar field through a production sharing arrangement with Idemitsu Myanmar Oil Exploration Company Limited. This venture marked Petronas' inaugural foray into oil exploration outside Malaysian waters, showcasing its strategic approach to ensure a sustainable energy future. Inevitably, success attracted competition. Indonesia's Pertamina and other Middle Eastern companies established their refineries, anticipating a decline in future profits. Recognizing the need for diversification, Singapore aimed to move beyond oil refining and extend its reach across the entire value chain. The logical progression led to an expansion into petrochemicals in 1971. Petrochemicals, derived from crude oil and natural gas, constitute a substantial portion of the chemicals market, contributing to everyday items like plastic bags, pipes, bottles, and car tires. To solidify its position, the Singaporean government initiated discussions with Japanese multinationals for a potential petrochemical joint venture aiming to fortify the nation's presence in the oil processing industry. In 1990, Malaysia and Thailand resolved a long-standing territorial dispute, establishing a joint administrative authority for a 7,300 square kilometer area in the Gulf of Thailand. This led to a collaborative oil exploration project involving Petronas, the Petroleum Authority of Thailand, and Triton Oil. Concurrently, a deal was struck for the feasibility study of transporting natural gas from this area through Malaysia to Thailand. Simultaneously, Petronas invested in the Peninsular Gas Utilization Project, involving the laying of 730 kilometers of pipeline to the peninsula's tip. This project, completed in 1991, facilitated gas sales to Singapore and Thailand, power station conversions, and expanded Petronas' output of various products. Petronas, beyond being an oil company, played a pivotal role in the Malaysian economy, contributing significantly to federal government revenue, reaching up to 36% from 1981 to 1988. Breaking into the petrochemical industry posed challenges for Singapore. Initially led by Japan's Sumitomo Chemical Company, the project expanded with 11 additional chemical companies joining the consortium in 1976. Despite setbacks in the late 1970s and early 1980s, including oil crises and a recession, the Petrochemical Corporation of Singapore, PCS, was established in 1977. Facing doubts about its viability, the $2 billion SGD complex was completed in 1984, featuring a naphtha cracker on the island of Air Merbau. Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew played a crucial role, striking deals with China to sell petrochemicals at favorable prices. Although the industry faced a downturn, the PCS complex turned profitable by 1987. Over the years, the government reduced its stake, selling 30% to Shell in 1988 and the remaining 20% in 1992. Despite challenges, Singapore expanded with PCS2, completed in 1997. Approximately 95 petroleum organizations operate on the island, contributing to Singapore's role as a key player in the global oil market, producing about 20,170 barrels of crude oil per day. Guiding the nation's oil industry is the Singapore National Oil Corporation, SNOC, ensuring stability and success. In this dynamic landscape, Jurong Island and SNOC stand as integral components, driving Singapore's prominence in the global oil and gas arena. In the late 1990s, Petronas emphasized international exploration and diversification. Key highlights included the Ruby Field discovery in Vietnam, 1994, overseas production in Vietnam's Dai Hung Field, and the establishment of the first retail station in Cambodia. Subsidiaries Petronas Degangan Bhd and Petronas Gas Bhd went public in 1994. In 1996, Petronas entered the aromatics market and ventured into China's Liaodong Bay area. Despite the 1997 Asian economic crisis, Petronas thrived, diversifying with petrochemical plants in Kuantan and an acetic facility in Kerteh. By 2003, Petronas had become a global oil company, contributing significantly to Malaysia's revenue and maintaining a robust international presence, with notable achievements in LNG production and overseas acquisitions. The company's growth strategy continued with successful ventures in Mauritania, 2007, and oil discovery in 2008. In 2004, Petronas contributed RM25 billion to Malaysia's treasury, accounting for 25% of revenue. In 2008, 40% of revenue came from international projects, showcasing the company's substantial global reserves and influence. Renowned as the uncontested oil hub in Asia and reigning supreme as the world's top shipping center for the 9th year running, the oil industry constitutes approximately 5% of Singapore's gross domestic product, GDP, contributing around 57 billion Singapore dollars in 2009. Renowned for its ideal trading location, Singapore facilitates 25 to 35% of commodities trading in Asia, making it the largest physical oil trading hub in the region. According to International Enterprise Singapore, the country is a global financial center, hosting the world's largest bunkering port and serving as the headquarters for the two largest oil rig builders, Sembcorp Marine and Keppel Corporation. In 2019, Singapore accounted for 21% of the world market, trading more than 213 million metric tons of bunker fuel. Singapore exported $40.8 billion in refined petroleum, making it the sixth largest exporter of refined petroleum in the world. Singapore's evolution into a major player in the oil trading and refining industry. The government's strategic policies, such as the creation of the Approved Oil Trader (AOT) scheme in 1989, played a crucial role in establishing Singapore as a prominent trading center, even surpassing Japan. Today, it stands as a global trading hub, where transactions shape the international oil market. The Singapore Exchange, SGX, became a focal point for oil futures trading, cementing the city-state's status as a key player. Petronas, Malaysia's $150 billion state-owned energy giant, is the world's 9th largest oil and gas company, a Fortune 500 company with total assets of $152 billion and employs more than 46,000 people across the globe. In 2022, the government took in 294 billion ringgit, $61 billion, in revenue. Of that, Petronas contributed 81 billion ringgit, $18 billion, through dividends and taxes, which is 27.5% of the total. Without Petronas, the Malaysian government would face a significant deficit in its public spending. The country's petroleum reserves could last 15 years based on the reserves life index calculation. This can be raised further to 40 years through high capital investments, utilization of new technologies, as well as a stable and competitive investment landscape.